Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing this morning? We are gonna get rocking and rolling here. Just kind of stand by, waiting for people to drop in. Get some things opened up here and good to go for us. Let's see. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Looks a little choppy. I did change up the latency modes. That could be the reasoning as to why, but nonetheless. Yeah, so today just kind of wanted to, I guess, just break down a couple of different things I've been working on. I did end up launching a site yesterday, so we'll end up pulling it up, taking a look at that here a little bit and seeing what we got going on there. And then as well, I have a couple of books that I picked up. We'll flip through those, take a look at them, and then as well, I do have my short box of magazines pulled, so I figured we could take a look at some more magazine-y sized things, kind of change it up a little bit. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's get this bad boy rolling here and start rolling down our housekeeping. Okay, so as always, I'm gonna keep preaching this until the day comes, but September 13th to the 14th, I'm gonna be in Pittsburgh both days at Eddie Pecan. I'll be tabling. I will have 2 comics, if not 3, art prints, so on and so forth. We're gonna get into that a little more here once we pull up the site and kind of take a look at that. As you can see, it's behind the screen here. And then as well, I'll show off some of the things that I'm going to be selling. I'm getting some prints and whatnot ready, so that way we can get them thrown up on the website, have those good to go for the con. Yeah, so I'll have those comics and whatnot, all that stuff good to go. One of the other things I wanted to talk about today here, if you haven't done so already or have seen it, Dave over at West Coast Avengers had put up a video today, this morning, where he's kind of talking about all the different, just like the comic book, store and how they're doing currently. A lot of these people seem like they're in bigger cities, so do what you will with that information. But yeah, I had commented on the video down here, as you can see. I told him that was a good idea, so on and so forth, and he said that if it's popular, he'll for sure do it again. Regardless, I hope that he continues to do it, because I think it's a good resource for, comic shops to have, even if they're only getting 100 to 200 views or whatever on a video. It's more of a resource for comic shops to have. So hopefully he views it in that respect, and not just as of a bunch of people trying to watch it in terms of your normal YouTube content, but treat it as a resource for those stores and whatnot, to learn about the trends that are happening, what they should be investing in, what other stores are doing in terms of ideas on, how they're filtering out their books and putting them through genres, artists, so on and so forth. There's different ways that businesses kind of operate, and That way, at the end of the day, you know, the shops can be better. So, if you haven't seen that yet, for sure check it out. Okay. So then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, like I said yesterday, I had launched up a website. This was something that I was working on for, man, probably the past 2 weeks or so. And man, it's it's a lot more work than what it looks like. Sorry about that. My my dog was in here and making up a bunch of fucking noise, so I had to kick her out. But yeah, I launched this yesterday. It's something that I've been working on probably about the last week or two. Finally got it up. Dude, it's a lot of work. It's a lot more than what you would think it would be. Just in terms of getting everything to look right, both on desktop, mobile, getting everything set up to where it flows properly. Again, to where it just looks right while you're scrolling on the page, so on and so forth. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're just going to, I guess, break it down and kind of talk about a couple of things that I feel it's pretty important if you're kind of in the same trajectory that I'm in, to see, you know, the steps that I'm kind of taking, and maybe you can follow suit, or you know, just take some of the advice that I'm giving here. So I'd gone through and I published this through Squarespace. So they seem to be not the most user friendly, but you seem to have the more control over the way that your site looks. So that's where if you have any web design experience from the past, or you know, just graphic design in general, even, it'll help you out a lot here. I did take like HTML and a couple of other things in high school, so web design and whatnot I'm somewhat familiar with. So it wasn't the most difficult thing, it's just really time consuming. So if you are going to be launching a website, you know, just do keep that in mind, that it takes a lot more work than what you really anticipate. So let's go ahead and just kind of look here. So right now it's just sort of a basic layout. The main thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to have it be as minimalistic as possible, so that way people can get around easy, and then as well, it's not cluttered, because there are so many websites that you go to, and it's like, all right, you get lost, or there's just a million things that you can click on, and people get overwhelmed pretty quickly. When you have a minimalist design like this, there's literally only, you know, 3 or 4 things that people can click on here, and it's pretty obvious on what you can click on. So it makes it pretty easy in terms of the design aspect. So then it's like you just click on YouTube, and then boom, it just pulls you, you know, straight to the channel. And then click on art, and then it'll drag you over to the art page. So then like the animations and everything like that load up, the frames that are on the pictures and how like the corners are cut, that's all just through web design. That's not Photoshop, that's purely just you punching in the numbers and you making it look like that. So you can see I just have a bunch of just miscellaneous things that I've worked on here as of now. Definitely going to be adding more, obviously. I have a stack of stuff just sitting over here that I'm kind of waiting to get scanned in to put up here, do Photoshop on and everything like that to get them good to go. There's that, just kind of show some of my versatility. And this was actually, we're going to go back to this because this is something that I wanted to look at more or less, were like the YouTube thumbnails. So I draw my thumbnails for the most part. So that entire background and everything like that, that's actually, let's take a look here and see if I can find it. Because I'll show you guys, I try to, you know, set myself apart a little bit from everybody else, and it's like I have the drawing abilities, so why not draw out your own thumbnails, right, and do it that way. Oh, I saw it in here somewhere. Oh man, here we go. So I'll show you guys. So like, see what I mean? So I drew this, and then just the lettering and everything like that. Obviously that's digital, but this is something that I try to do is do an actual background, scan it in, and then do stuff over top of it. So that way it still has its own unique aesthetic to it. And they're just not throwaway YouTube thumbnails, and you can treat them as actual pieces of art, finalized. So it's kind of like a mishmash of different things. Let's see. And then the other thing is as well, this is something else that I wanted to talk about. We'll move the camera here down to the... So I do have a store launching, probably like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I'll have everything good to go. I wanted to show off a couple of things here that I am working on. So this is a drawing that I did a long ass time ago, and these are going to be for prints I'm going to be selling. So they'll be up on the website, and I'll have like the size, dimensions, and everything like that. The way that I'm going to be doing prints is I'm going to be doing print on demand, to where you know, when an order comes in, I'll print it, so that way I don't have like a fat stack of things sitting around. I have a print shop that's literally like 3 blocks down the road from my house here, so I could literally just hop on my skateboard and ride down there on my lunch break and take care of it. So it's, you know, it's not that big of a deal for me. So that's what I'm going to do, rather than just having a bunch of prints sitting around that may or may not sell, and then I'm just sitting on them, and as well they're taking up room, and then you invested the money into it. Why do that when, hey, maybe I'll have, right, 1 to 2 prints a fucking month is kind of what I'm anticipating. Who even knows? Go out and print them, and then they'll be to size too. So this is a smaller one. You can see it's about the size of my hand. So it's on a smaller sheet. And the reasoning why is because I think with prints, their sizes are too fucking wonky. They come in a bunch of different sizes. They come in larger sizes. Space is a really big thing for a lot of people, so you kind of have to take that into consideration. So all of my prints, for the most part, are going to be like 8x10s. You can stick that in a normal picture frame. That's standard size that a lot of people think of standard size. So they can stick it in any frame that they already own, and as well, they don't have to worry about sizing in terms of having the space on their wall. So this was one that I was going to do here. I have this scanned in my computer already, and I've been, you know, digitally adjusting the levels and whatnot for it. So that would be good to go. Just a little Hellboy thing that I did. I'll set these over here. This is something that you guys have seen a lot, but this seems to be a popular one, so I figured this would be a good print to do, but just that Venom that I had done. I'm up in arms on what I wanted to do on this one. So this is something that I had made ages ago. I had actually redrawn this, and the second Beetlejuice that I had done, it looks completely different. I think I like this version more. The lines on this are a little messed up, so I'll probably have to scan this in and like digitally touch this up, because this is like a super early drawing. I probably drew this maybe like a month or 2 into just actually drawing, to kind of give you an aspect of how early this was for me. And you can see this isn't a bad drawing, so it's just a matter of just cleaning up the lines and everything, and I think this would actually work pretty well for a print. I posted this recently in the Ink Pulp Discord, but this was a Howard the Duck that I have done. I'm a massive fan of like the 70s Howard the Duck magazines. We'll probably end up taking a look at some of those today, because I do have, again, my magazine short box pulled. So we'll flip through a couple of those and take a look at them. I love the Howard the Duck stuff, because they're still adult cartoons, but they're like more or less like anthology books, like in a way, because there's like different. They're like short stories in a full magazine, and they have different people illustrating them and whatnot. So they're kind of up my alley because of that. I mean, it's 70s black and white, of course. You can't go wrong. And this was another one that I was going to do here. This is the Wolverine that I had drawn a while ago, and I haven't shared this online as of yet. So he's one that I did a couple of months ago, just kind of planning on around prints. So these are the guys that so far I've worn out. I am also doing a Public Enemy print set. I already have a Flavor Flav completely done, and then a Terminator X is also done. You guys have seen the Terminator X one. So I just got Chuck D and Professor Griff left to go over. And then I'll get that print set up. I'll probably sell them at, $5, whatever, $10 a piece on just the actual prints. And then together, you'll get one free, essentially. So if you buy all 4 of them, you'll get one free if you buy the whole set. That's kind of my thought there. All right, so let's go ahead and bounce back to this. All right, so, and then as well, obviously the comic is going to be going up here, so I'll have that good to go to sell. For the most part, I'm probably only going to allow PayPal and like, Venmo and things like that, purely for security purposes. I personally don't like using, credit cards, debit cards, things like that online. So, I'll be open to adding it at some point, but you kind of have to do more steps to get like credit payment, debit payment, and whatnot activated on your website. It's way easier to do PayPal. You just have to activate a separate PayPal business account. That's completely free to do so, and you can just throw money into that as opposed to you having to go to Chase, or wherever fucking bank you use, open up a business account, having to activate that, attaching it to your, to your website, and then doing all the steps there. It's way too much work, and I don't anticipate doing enough business to, quite frankly, really report it to the IRS. So I'm really not worried about that, right? It's like I'm not going to be making any money to where it really fucking matters, like in the long run. So it's like, why even bother with it at this point? It's like, if you become successful and you start making money, then that's where you probably should start taking those steps. But for the most part, though, it's just like, I'm making yard sale money here, you know what I mean? So it's like, who cares? So we do have a couple of things that I actually wanted to pull up here. So I really don't use social media for the most part. It's purely just on YouTube and on my website here. So this is where all my updates and everything like that are going to go. They always go on my posts on YouTube. That's what I use as my social media. And then as well, what we're doing here. So I'm going to start doing blogs. I probably will put one up like one a week probably. I'll probably type them up on like a Saturday and have them up like, Saturday evening or like Saturday afternoon. Never get around to typing this. But is what I had done here was I kind of explained, not necessarily like my whole journey with where everything had kind of started, but just more or less as kind of like a short, sweet thing about my art stuff, and then just important people that have, really influenced me along the way. So I'd highly recommend to actually go and read this if you're interested at all about what I'm doing here. And then as well, there's just a lot of insights that you can really get from this. As you can see, like I typed up a lot of shit. So, these aren't things that are going to be wasting your time. They're well thought out. And I think you can get a lot of things from them, especially if you want to get advice and whatnot from me. So for the most part here, I wanted to talk about Ray a little bit. So Ray was, as you can see, he was my first art mentor, and I started taking classes with him around July of last year. And he was the art director at Kitchen Sink for about 14 years. And he worked with, again, Will Eisner, Mark Schultz, Kevin Eastman, so on and so forth. So like all those like, excuse me, reprints and colored versions of the Spirit that they put out through Kitchen Sink. He colored those directly with Will Eisner and so on and so forth. And Harvey Kurtzman was like his guy. That's who like he got a lot of his mentoring and stuff from. So he had a very like Mad Magazine-y caricature kind of look to his drawing. Anyways, I was just taking basic art classes, figure drawing, or whatever, whoever I was taking it with at the time. I can't remember what her name is. But I had seen that the art museum was also doing like monster, horror classes, so on and so forth. So I went ahead and just enrolled into that, and it was just a 2-day thing, 4 hours a piece, so it was about 8-hour course, and it was just basic stuff like, here's how you can draw a monster eyeball and monster mouth and whatever. And at the end of the thing, you would just have like a little monster drawn. When I had showed up, I had shown him some drawings that I had done. I did like Jan and Jace from Space Ghost. What else did I draw? I can't remember. Like maybe it was like a Daffy Duck and a Bugs Bunny. I think that's what it was. And he, because he was just kind of going around the class and it's kind of like, oh, do you draw? Blah, 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 just kind of talking to people. So I showed him my sketchbook and he was like, oh, this is pretty good stuff. Like, do you make comics and blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I've only been drawing for like 2 months, dude. And his eyes just like went opened up real bright and he's like, for real? It's like, yes. And then he grabbed my sketchbook and kind of like flipped through it and he's like, dude. So then as you can see here, he kind of just like turned the heat on to me. Gave me, the assignments that we was giving into the class, and then as well gave me additional assignments outside of that. So he was giving me things that I've never would have drawn before. I wish I could remember what the artist's name was, but he would draw a lot of like cartoony like farm animals and things like that. So I would sit and I would just draw things that you typically wouldn't draw. So I think that's what was really the purpose of it. So it's like, oh, here's a pig, or here's our bunny rabbit, and so on and so forth. Ray also showed me the 22 panels that always work from Wally Wood. This is something that I literally just have printed and plastered right above my drawing desk. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a great resource because, again, it's just like these are panels that always work. And if you're in a slump and you're just like, fuck, like I can't think of something that would work here, literally pull that up and just pick one, because it doesn't matter which one it is, it'll work for what you need it for. Like, that's how good and like refined like those 22 panels are. Like, they'd work in any instance. It doesn't matter where it is on the page. If you need a panel and you can't figure out the layout, boom, grab it from that and you're good to go. So that, like, in terms of art and aesthetic, that's like the biggest thing that I learned from him was all Wally Wood, because I didn't know who the fuck Wally Wood was. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So I learned who Wally Wood was, and that kind of devolved from there. So as you can see here, he kind of was asking me, hey, who's your go-to guys in comics? So I just kind of like ran down my list, and when I landed on Don Simpson, he said, stop. I worked with him for many years, because obviously Megaton Man originally came out through Kitchen Sink, so on and so forth. If you didn't know this, Kitchen Sink is based out of Wisconsin, and originally there was a like a compound out in the middle of nowhere, and all these dudes lived there together, from my understanding. At least some of them did. Actually, lived out of that building. They created comics out of the building together. They shipped their books from there, so on and so forth. So it's a very tight-knit group of people. It's like, imagine being a fly on the wall in that place. It's like, oh, there's Don Simpson and Will Eisner and James O'Barr, just like, just a wild shit like that, right? It's like, Kitchen Sink around that time is just nuts. But my biggest takeaway from Ray was networking, and this is something that I kind of wanted to bring up and talk about, is you constantly just have to be just in people's fucking faces just all the time, and making a name for yourself, and then as well just like selling what you do, sell yourself, because nobody cares at the end of the day like what the fuck you're doing. The only person who's going to care is you, and it's your job to make other people care about what you're doing. So you have to remember that. Nobody's waking up today and going, oh man, how can I make Sam's day the best day ever? It's like, because if somebody did that, they would be bringing me a truck full of money, and I wouldn't have to fucking work a normal day job anymore, you know what I mean? But nobody's doing that. So you have to hit the pavement, man, and keep going. And again, this is something that just came out of the blue. I was taking just random classes, art classes, just, learning how to draw. And I saw that they were teaching horror classes, enrolled into that, met Ray, learned a shitload about comics, and then it's like I met the dude that was like the art director at one of the most prolific independent indie comics brands at the time. And then it's like, oh, and he knew Don Simpson. So it's like, this is what I'm saying is like, you don't know where things are going to lead, and you just have to put yourself out there and just make the effort. That's all. It sounds easy, but sometimes the hardest thing to do for people is just getting over that initial hurdle and getting yourself out there. You know, don't be afraid of showing your work off to people and whatnot, because for the most part, a lot of people in the artist community, they're going to be encouraging to you and help you out, and you know, try to push you forward. So never be ashamed of where you're at or what you're trying to do. As long as you're trying to make an effort to be better, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. All right, so yeah, like I was saying, this is just a lot of stuff that's in here. So if you're kind of curious about my journey and just other insights and whatnot, go ahead and read this entire book that I wrote. So that's kind of the website and its gist. Obviously, I'm going to have, like I said, a blog up there every week. I'm going to be doing the normal YouTube stream thing. So all my updates and everything like that are going to be going here. All the comics, prints, all that kind of stuff I'm going to be selling here. And then as well, I'm going to be selling strictly at cons I'm going to be at. The cons that I will be going to, I will have like exclusive things for those cons. So like EDP Con, so on and so forth. I will have something specific for that con, so you can only get it there. You know, print whatever 10 to 25 of them, however many. That's to be determined, but you know, whatever, like a print or you know, like an exclusive sticker, whatever it might be, I don't know yet. I'm sure that'll just ebb and flow as things go on, so we'll see. Let's see here. Is there anything else that I wanted to really bring up? I don't think so. I mean, that's really the gist of everything that I wanted to get into. The book itself, it's still out at the printer. What day was that? Was it Thursday? I about lost my fucking mind. I sent the book off to the printers, you know, whatever day that was that week. Monday, Tuesday, they got back to me the next day and was like, hey, this file was, you know, blah, 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 blah. It's going to get messed up because of the way we're going to be cutting things. And I'm like looking at it. I'm like, well, that's not going to get cut off. I don't care. Or I should say, like, that was intentional. It should have been cut off. I don't care. So I uploaded the file and I sent it back to him. And when I had done that, it shuffled all the pages up for some reason. So I confirmed it and sent it off. And then, like, later on in the day, I was, like, looking at it again. And the page sequences were just all over the place. So, like, the front cover was in the middle of the book. Like, the stuff was just scattered. I was like, what the fuck? How did this happen? And I saw it was in print. Like, on the status, I was like, oh, no. So I was in the middle of doing my normal day job, and I just didn't even care. I basically just stopped what I was doing. I called the fucking printer up right then and there, obviously. I gave them an earful. We got everything corrected, and they printed, like, I think they said, like, 10 to 15 books that they already had done on the line, and I had stopped it, thankfully. But everything's good. There was, like, 1 or 2 files that were my pages that I had to, like, move around and fix, actually. And it was purely because, for whatever reason, when they were putting it into print, it was, like, warping the drawing for some reason. Super strange, so I had to put, like, a white border around my third page on the one where it just has, like, the dude get his fucking head blown off. I had to put, like, a white border around that. And even when they cut it, you're still going to see a white edge. Just for whatever reason, it was just, like I said, like, when they were trying to print it, it was, like, warping the image. So they let me know about that, so I had to fix that. And then same thing with, like, the little corner box on the cover. There's going to be, like, a little white edge around that, too, because for whatever reason, when they were trying to print it, it was warping the image, and it was, like, blending with the background, if that makes sense. So you couldn't tell there was, like, a corner box there. I don't even know. It was strange looking. So I had to put a little white box around that to actually get it to print. So, like, in issue 2, going forward, I'm going to know, like, hey, like, I need to take this stuff and scoot it over more. And then as well, if it's a full page and has a bunch of drawing, like, you have to put at least some border on it, if it's white or black or whatever. Because even if you have your image and you're like, hey, I want this to get cut off, it warps it for whatever reason. I don't know if that's, like, due to, like, the way that they're printing stuff or whatever. I don't know. but having that border around there just helps keeping the image from getting stretched off beyond the edge and it getting warped looking. So, hey, it's a learning experience. That's the kind of things you run into, you know, as you're making comics and whatnot. So number two in terms of like the way that the pages look would definitely probably be a lot better. But hey, it's a learning experience, folks. We're just in it to make comics. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be doing here. So I pulled a couple of things that I purchased recently that we'll take a look at a little bit. First thing that I wanted to take a look at here is the Otomo Complete Works 22. This is the storyboards from Akira number 2. I also have number 1. Dave over West Coast Avengers was selling this. Still got a little sticker and a little brochure in there. But this is literally exactly what this is. They are just Otomo storyboards for Akira in sequence. So if you're a fan of, you know, the anime, or just a fan of Otomo in general, I mean, this is like a must own. Like you should own this. Man, it's just beautiful stuff. Even in storyboards, it's just like this dude is just smoking people. And some of these drawings, just the compositions are just so good. Hell yeah, man. And I also had this weird ass like Walt Disney. I'm not even too sure what this is. It's like a little brochure for something. But Otomo through Talkin Comics. It's good shit, man. Highly recommend it if you are an Akira fan, a Otomo fan, or just like a fan, I guess, of animation in general. Processes, super important to see, you know, how things get done. Like, this is pretty interesting how he's drawn this here. So good, man. These are the kind of things that I love more and more as, you know, my art things that kind of going on, just more stuff like this rather than just like actual comics. Get into the nitty gritty. Let's put this back here. One of the things that I wanted to mention about the website and just like YouTube and all that kind of stuff, it's like you can't just be a cartoonist, like you have to be an online personality, really just hawk your stuff. So for those of you that are out there, it's like, and you're not already have a YouTube channel or what have you, it's like that's, you know, something you probably should consider. Thing to keep in mind though, it can be fucking demoralizing, man. Just kind of put into, you know, perspective, it's like when you first start, it's like you put stuff up and it goes nowhere, right? Like nobody cares. I had done a stream probably like 3-4 months ago, maybe even more than that. I did a Godzilla drawing and there were like 600 people in here at one point watching. Never happened again. And for the most part, it's like I get 30 people maybe on a current, like usually on a typical stream. It's usually about where it sits, for people that kind of stop by and everything like that. So going from 600 and something from one day, and then literally the very next one that I had done, I'm not even joking, 3 people had showed up. 3 people. Went from 600 and something to 3 the next time. So that was extremely frustrating, and it can be super demoralizing doing that. At the end of the day, you just have to keep your head down and just keep going, man, because it's like the treadmill's going to keep going, and if you get off, the treadmill's still going, and you're standing there and you're getting fat, you know what I mean? So you gotta keep moving. All right, so this is app number 7. Before we actually look at this, I'm going to flip through it quick here, because I have not done so already. And as we know, all the things you can expect in a Zap. So I just want to make sure that there's nothing in here that's too crazy. Show it off for YouTube here. Yeah, there's some stuff in here, of course. Jesus. Alright. So we got Zap Comics. We're just going to flip through this here quick so you guys can get a flavor of exactly what this is. I mean, this is just underground nonsense, right? I mean, this is the kind of shit that I love, but YouTube does not. So, for the sake of getting through this, we're just going to keep going. Fat Freddy's Cat's one of my favorite things. Fabulous Freak Brothers. Good stuff. I honestly like the Fat Freddy's Cat a little more than the Fabulous Freak Brothers. I think it's really funny. Pretty extreme drawing there. From 1973. Man, there's just some beautiful drawings in here, though. It's Mr. Natural. I own all of Mr. Natural. And again, this Mr. Natural is just fucking nonsense. R-Crumb goodness. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I cannot look at that page. Just batshit crazy, man. It's like why I get so iffy about showing this kind of stuff, because I know it turns off a lot of people. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's what I like to look at, and it's just, it's kind of shitty. It's just like YouTube is so, you know what I mean? They're just so kid friendly. Even when you market like age restricted, they're like, nope, it's got nudity in it. And it's like, dude, it's just a drawing of tits. So like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, it'll be cool, brother. Like, it's literally just human anatomy. So yeah, Zap Comics number 7. Have to actually sit down and read through this yet. Like I said, that was the very first flip through I've done of it. Huge R-Crumb guy, so the Zap Comics, I keep on getting. Gonna grab some random stuff here out of the magazine long box and take a look at what we got. Sure. Let's look at this. Man. Some of this stuff is hard to get out. Come on. Because of the size. There we go. Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, some more crumb goodness. Let's grab this. Let's grab this. Kind of get a different variety of things. Do 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 do. I think these will be the winners today. Alright, so this is one. Let's just go ahead and look at this right away. Let's look at a Mad. Hey, how's it going? It's a good day today. Looking at some comics. And after this, probably hit the drawing table. Might edit some prints, but probably finish up the page that I got sitting on my desk right now. I got it. Man, I only have like one panel inked. That's it on it. I have all the panels, borders inked itself, but yeah, I just have one panel inked, so I still have to do pretty much ink that entire page yet. Started to do it yesterday, but got a little sidetracked doing some other things. So this was a Halloween special that they had put out last year. So if you're not familiar with like these reprints that they do through Mad, a lot of people get beef on these because they basically just, what they're doing, they're greatest hits of Mad magazines. So they'll just take a bunch of different snippets from a bunch of different issues and just throw them in here, and then they'll add, you know, whatever, 5 to 6 new pages of content. So a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you just make a new Mad, blah, 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 blah. Listen, these companies aren't going to make a whole brand new Mad magazine. Like, DC just isn't going to do that, purely because I don't think it's going to sell that well. But they'll do things like this. And like I said, people have beef on this, but the thing is, it's like, if you ever walk into a comic shop and try to find, you know, Mads that you're actually trying to look for, you can't fucking find them. People actually hold on to these things, and the Mads that are floating around out there, nobody wants them, or they're older ones and they're like really beat up. So you don't see, you know, like the typical Mads that you would actually want from, you know, 80s, 90s, or like the late 70s, I would say is their golden era. At my local comic shop, it's like you see ones from the 60s pretty often. But there's a drawing in here, and I think his name's Tim Bunky, I want to say. And his illustrations are crazy good. Spy versus Spy. So Antonio Farias, there's a Spy versus Spy omnibus, and I had looked at that at one point in time, and maybe it was my year in review video I had done around Christmas time. I think I had looked at this book for the omnibus. Highly recommend it. So these are really cool drawings here too. It says it's Hurricane Ivan is the name. Let's see if we can find this photo, or this photo, Jesus, here we go. Yeah, Tom Bunk was his name. Such a good drawing. It's one of those things that you look at it, and there's just so much detail on the page, it's insane. It's the amount of times that I look at this, and you just always find something new on it. Bring it in a little closer to the camera here. It's crazy good. It's cluttered, but it's still extremely readable. So that's a talent in of itself there. Having a cluttered image that's still readable. So yeah, these are cool little, like I said, they're like greatest hits sort of things that they do. I have a handful of these. I like them. People take beef on them. They're not, I think this is like, yeah, it's like a $15 thing. It is square bound. It's not like a standard magazine, so it's a nicer quality. So do what you will with that. Like I said, I like them. I think that it makes this easy or more accessible to just kind of get short snippets of Mad, rather than having to like hunt down specific issues. It's kind of a pain in the ass. All right, let's look at Creepy number 42. Clearly, I'm a massive Warren magazine guy. We're going to be taking a look at another Warren mag here in a second. This is a fairly early one. It's from 1971. I have what the first, man, what, 40 issues or so, I want to say, of Eerie. And then Creepy, I have just a random scattered issues for. I don't have them in sequential order. The reason why I have the Eries in sequential order is purely because I think I'd purchased a collection from somebody like really cheap, and that's just what he had, so it was real simple or easy for me to get those. And this is something that I've talked about in my past videos. It's like Eries, Creepies, like basically like Warren mags or like any Fantagraphics books. You really don't see them in this area, so you have to go to like larger cities. You have to go to like Madison, or you'll have to go to like there's a store called Freak Toys up in Ashwaubenon that has a lot of, not Ashwaubenon, but what the hell is the name of that town? Sheboygan, that's what it is. Up in Sheboygan, there's like a store up there, and they have like a lot of monster mags and things like that, eerie, creepy, famous monsters, all that kind of stuff. So that's where I usually have to go to get them, but it's like a 2-hour drive from here, so it's not like the most accessible thing to go and do all the time. But when I do go up there, that's what I typically grab, is monster related stuff. The next issue of the anthology that we're going to be putting out, the stories are going to be more of a horror themed stuff. So I know that Eric and his partner, they're a duo team. They're doing more of a horror themed thing, and then as well, that's what I'm doing on my part. I'm doing a thing called Ken Stein, which is obviously a play on Frankenstein. He's literally a dentist. So the joke behind that is, there's an interview that Todd McFarlane had done, and I don't know who it was for, but he had talked about people drawing monsters with perfect teeth, and he's like, this is my biggest pet peeve in comics, is when people draw monsters with perfect teeth, because monsters don't go to the dentist, so why are you drawing them with perfect teeth? Like, they need to be broken, jagged, missing, what have you. So I thought it'd be really funny to make a monster dentist, like dental surgeon. It's just like a play on that. It's just kind of like an inside joke to myself, and then as well, it's like, how often do you see comics that take place in a dentist's office? So I was like, also kind of the other one of the things I tried to make it a little unique. Here, I'll show you. Just let me pull this off here quick. This is the title page slash like, yeah, it's what it is. It's the title page for the comic. So you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here. That's the title page for it. So I got to scan that in yet, and as you can see, I just have it kind of hanging up on my wall. I'm just kind of like remind myself of like the tone of everything that I'm kind of going for. So it's kind of like the title page, and then eventually I'll get the text actually put on there. Spring tone is coming off and stamping it down real quick. I did this title page probably like 2 months ago now, not even joking. It's kind of how far ahead I was on everything. But when I'm doing this anthology stuff, is what I try to do is I try to have all of my stuff done on my end, so that way when I'm getting everybody's pages, I don't have to do anything besides just drop my artwork in. Like, it's already photoshopped, it's already drawn, and then I just have to worry about, and then as well, like, the design's already pretty much done at that point. All I have to worry about is like getting stuff from other people, and then I can just crank the book out. So yeah, that's the title page for it, and obviously you guys have seen some of the other pages that I've actually been working on for the thing. So Yeah, dentist office, kind of a horror thing. And the first story that I've done for the first anthology, you guys have seen some of that, but it's about like assassination hitman kind of stuff. Ken Stein is going to play into that. So that character and Ken Stein are one of the same. So there's more to. He's just not just a dental surgeon, right? He's a hitman. It's like generic comic book bullshit. But to give a little bit of inside baseball, I guess, is what my original idea was, or what the idea is behind it. I love Dick Tracy, and I love RoboCop. So, um, I was in the process of making a RoboCop slash Dick Tracy like mix bootleg comic, and that kind of divulged into what I have here. So basically, the full comic that I'm working towards, because again, it's like I'm just kind of giving short snippets in this anthology, and then eventually it'll be its whole eventual thing. Is it's basically like Ken Stein is kind of again, he's a dental surgeon, hitman, however you want to look at that. But the universe itself, it's basically like wacky, like a Dick Tracy, to where there's just off the wall, villains, so on and so forth. But it's they're monsters, so like they're horror themed. So it'd be like a crazy mummy dude or whatever, right? Like that, whatever. Yeah, Robo Dick. um, but yeah, so it's kind of like the thing behind it is it's kind of like a, a mix between like the satirical aspect of like RoboCop and the violence of RoboCop mixed with Dick Tracy. That's kind of like what I'm trying to do here. So it's gonna be just weird, off the wall, just like obscure villains mixed with like that kind of satirical violence and whatnot that's in RoboCop. Obviously, you guys have saw it's like the dude getting his head blown off in the first issue of the comic, and guys doing lines of coke. So it's still like an outlaw canon sort of movie feel to it. Again, that RoboCop. But I wanted to bring in like that cartoony aspect to this. That's where kind of the Dick Tracy comes from. So it is more or less a Dick Tracy RoboCop bootleg comic. I don't know how else to explain it. But yeah, we're getting a little horror themed on the next thing. So, my idea is I had shown off the back cover somewhat of the book here. Let me pull this up here actually quick, and I'll show you guys kind of what my idea is. Share my screen here. All right, cool. So this is the straight up comic. This is the back cover of it. Can you expand this at all? I don't think I can really zoom into the artwork. It's not going to let me do it. Yeah. All right. So James Carney, he lives in Scotland actually. So a lot of these people that I've been working with are international. So I have somebody in Belgium, there's somebody in Scotland, and there's somebody in Slovenia. Kind of crazy when you think about it. It's like I'm here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I'm making comics with people in Europe. I'm making comics, with people in California, with people in Texas. So like we're all over the place, and like we're gonna have physical copies, like printed. That's literally what this is. You're looking at the print file, and that's getting sent off all over the place. So it's like when I put that into perspective, it's like, oh, we're gonna have books in Slovenia, and we're gonna have books here, and we're gonna have books there. So it's kind of like a weird grassroots way of getting your stuff out there distribution wise without actually having to pay distribution companies to get your stuff to people. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up is James is like super creative, as you can see. It's like you got a little ink pulp like reference here and a kayfabe reference, and all of this right here are pages from the comic, and she's kind of like spilling out her briefcase, and that's what this is. So this is like my page number 1 or page number 2 for my comic, and this is John's page. This is Eric's page, so on and so forth. So this is like super creative. So my idea was for my comic originally was Again, it was like House of the Crypt, Jesus, Crypt Keeper, Eerie, all that kind of crap. So like having a horror host, like an Elvira type, so on and so forth. So my idea is like, hey, originally that's what I wanted to do is have like a horror host in the book, but it really played against time, and like having to do everything by myself just wasn't feasible to do. So I had asked him, like, yeah, it's super cool. So is what I had asked him to do. I was like, hey, let's take this, turn it into like a horror host. And I'm still waiting to hear back from him. We're kind of in this, an early process, because like the second issue, we're probably going to launch like the submissions for it. Probably like early June, like the first week of June, we're going to get it out. It'll be a 4-week lead up. So then that way, all of July, I can work on getting the stuff printed, and then August time frame, that's when the actual issue will be out then. But I kind of asked him, like, hey, let's, like, like, goth her up, Elvira her a little bit, to make her more, like, horror-y. Like, I know that sounds bad, but bad, bad, use of words there. But you know what I mean, like, goth her up a little bit and kind of make her fit more into, like, the horror genre of things. Like I said, like, more of, like, an Elvira, and have her be, like, the horror host. I thought that would be really cool. So we're kind of still waiting on that idea to kind of bounce back to me a little bit. But yeah, this is kind of what we're looking at here for issue number 1. So that's the cover and back cover of everything. And then as well, I mean, I can show you guys, like, this is the table of contents there. So a lot of design work went into this, and I did all of it by myself. I had pulled out, you know what? Since we're sitting here talking about this stuff, I pulled out a lot of these worn magazines that I had, mainly Famous Monsters, because that was the big inspiration behind the book. Obviously, as you can see, it's like the font is literally the Famous Monster font, so on and so forth. And even this, like Gothic Delta 1, that font, that's the basic font that you see in Famous Monsters. So I grabbed a bunch of random issues from different eras of Warren magazine, and tried to make the table of contents kind of like a greatest hits visualization of the table of contents. So let's go ahead and flip this over here quick, so you can see what I mean. Like, this is just one of the things that I tried to mock, and let's just bring it back. See what I mean? So that's kind of the aesthetic that I was kind of going for, and then to add my my own little spin to it. But that was kind of where the general gist of it came from. And then as well, like, I make underground outlaw comics, so it's like we're talking about cokeheads getting their heads blown off in these comics here. This is what I do here, people. One of the things that we can look at here is, because I had shown this off recently, this was the things that James had done, and he had done the back cover. I just kind of wanted to show this off a little bit, just kind of like the thank you page that's on the back. I had shown off my website earlier in the stream, and had kind of shown off all the design that had gone into there, and then as well the blog that I'd recommended to read. To kind of give some background on myself and kind of like my art background a little bit. So this is kind of a generalization of that, of just the people that have been involved with, the book, helping me along the way, and all that kind of stuff. And if you wanted to know more in depth about these people, like, that's over on the blog that I posted yesterday. So that's up on my website if you guys wanted to check that out a little bit. The only person I really didn't mention was Dave. So while we're here, so Dave is a friend of mine, just straight up. I discovered him, I want to say, early fall time frame last year, late summer-ish. I want to say Eddie P had mentioned him, like, on a live stream that they were doing. How they do like the King K-Favors thing at the time, and they were talking about people in the chat, and I brought up Dave, and it's like, oh yeah, he's somebody who's in the community who sells books, so on and so forth. And that's how I found out about him. Had no idea about him previous to that. Then of course I kind of like started the spiral, like showing up, doing his doing his live streams to buy books from him, and just picking his brain for questions and so on and so forth. And he was like a big part of the inspiration to why I even really got onto YouTube in general. So I owe a lot of like inspiration and everything like that to him. We give each other pointers back and forth, business advice, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we have a good working relationship, and then as well, like we're just, you know, we're good friends now at this point. You know, I can say that. If you are a fan of Dave's and you do hang out to his live streams and whatnot, he is going to be selling my book. So do be aware of that. So if you do hang out there on his Wednesday live streams, he does them every other week. He's going to have a stack of these, and he's going to be selling some. He's going to be giving some away. So if you guys are interested in actually getting this and want to support what he's doing over there as well, pick them up from Dave because he's going to have some. I'm expecting to get these at the end of the month. So the anticipated delivery date on the books is the 28th of April. And then I have other ones that are coming straight from the printer, getting scattered around. Once I get my set, the people that are international I have to ship out to them separately. Because like the tariffs and everything like that are going on. I'm not even joking. For me to send, this is one issue. Just one issue of comics, just to put into perspective. If you were to ship one issue of comics to somebody right now, and they were to receive it in their country, costing $50. I'm not even joking. For a single issue, if you were to ship something to somebody internationally right now, it's $50. For them to receive it, because of the tariffs, and then as well, they're buying your book. And then the shipping cost on top of that. So they're investing, you know, like $70, $80 into one issue of comics. If you put it all the cost into perspective. So when I was like, hey, I'm gonna ship you guys 10 books from the printer, and I got the shipping quote back, I was like, holy shit! Like, even shipping cost for me was crazy. But then I was going to incur that cost. But then once the artists got their stuff, it's like now they're gonna have to pay. You know, like $70 worth of import fees because of the weight of it. It's not just a single book, it's 10. So I was kind of trying to do the math in my head of how much it would cost. And like two of the artists straight up is just like, I'm not interested in having my books anymore because it's like, I don't want to pay that money. And like, that's understandable. I can get them a print PDF copy. They want to put it up digitally, they can. If they want to print it off locally, they can do that. That was the whole point of this book. It's a community anthology. It's purely just wanting to get everybody's name out there, wanting to get people motivated to make comics. Punk DIY. So if like people want to take this thing into a fucking Kinko's and photocopy it, I don't care. It's like at the end of the day, it's like you have to look at it in a business perspective. My fucking face is on the front of this book. Print it all you want. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like it's free advertisement for me, and it's free advertisement for everybody else that's in here, and that was the whole point of this. So look forward to that. But yeah, like I said, Dave should be having some of these. Probably like, you know, just shipping time frames and everything like that. Probably like the early May, maybe mid-May, just thinking of shipping time frames and everything like that. But yeah, he's going to have a stack of them to sell. One of the things, Derek, that I wanted to bring up about Dave, I bought this camera, and it's this overhead camera that I'm using, and then as well, it's like I'm gonna have another separate camera because this webcam gets a little wonky. But I want to get paid next. I'm probably gonna buy another one of these, but it's a Osbot Tiny SE, and it's a PTZ camera to where it basically just auto tracks via AI and everything like that. I had told Dave about this camera. And had recommended it to him specifically for his live sales because the thing auto tracks and auto zooms and everything like that. So he can set it, you know, on his laptop, and as he's walking up to his wall of comics and everything like that, the camera will automatically zoom in onto where he's going, so you can see like what's up on the wall. And he could sit from his laptop even and like make his camera zoom in into the wall, so he doesn't have to constantly get up. Somebody's like, oh, what's on line, or what's on, you know, box P or whatever, and he has to walk over to the wall, grab it, show it off, pull it out of the thing to tell people about it. He could purely just stay at his computer and have it zoom in, or he can set to where it does motions, to where it's like he can just have it set to where it just automatically does that. So he can stand up himself and walk over to the wall, and the camera will just follow him. So he doesn't have to do the constant back and forth. So that's what I had recommended for him to do, and I'm probably going to end up buying another one of these. I'm telling you guys can see I stand up and I move around a lot. So in my studio, you'll be able to follow me around my studio, and you can set barriers on the actual recordings to where it's like, hey, like, you know, this area of my studio, I don't want you guys to see, or like this area of my studio, I don't want you guys to see because maybe there's like personal stuff in the background or whatever. So the camera will track you. When it gets to those spots, it'll just stop. And then when you come back into frame, it'll just track you again. So there's like a lot of things like that that he can, then that he would be able to implement onto his live stream that I think would really spice things up just in terms of like the production of everything. And it's literally just a simple camera. That's it. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a flip through this. So this was specifically like a a Japanese monster one. This is one of the more sought after magazines. You do not see this thing floating around anywhere. I believe I bought this one from Dave actually. And a lot of these monster mags I do typically have to get from him because, like I said, it's like they're a pain in the ass to find in my area, and I have to drive like 2 hours away to even to find monster magazines. And a lot of the times I already own the damn thing. It's like I have a short box full of famous monsters, you know what I mean? So I have so many copies of these. And that's something that I recommend for people to do, obviously, is keep track of what you own, so that way you don't buy doubles and so on and so forth. And then sometimes I will intentionally buy doubles, and I'm sure some people are like that too, so you have like a read copy and all that kind of stuff. I buy doubles if it's like kayfabe related. So if if I see like a Jim Mahfood stuff out in the wild, if I see Tom Shuley stuff out in the wild, Eddie P, Jim Rugg, obviously all that kind of stuff. If I see like Red Room, any of that crap, I will buy it every single time. I'll give it to people. I'll send it to my brother. I'll send it to a couple of my friends, whatever, because it's like I don't want that shit to live and die in comic book shops because that's how much it means to me. So I'll buy it and I'll give it to somebody and give it a home. You know what I mean? That's how I just kind of roll sometimes. So with that being said, like I said, I have a log on my phone of everything that I own. So that way when I'm standing in the store and I'm like, oh, do I already have a Famous Monsters 98 or whatever, I can just pull out my phone and look and see if I already have it or not. And then as well, obviously you can do like barcodes, whatever kind of system that you want. I buy something, I stick it into my phone, and then I just stick it into my long boxes or whatever when I'm done with it, and I just kind of move on. That's how I stay organized with a lot of things. Because obviously, as you're aware, it's super easy to get overwhelmed with comics and like not remembering what you have. Because it's like you go into a Blade run or whatever, and you have 30 issues of Blade, and it's like, wait, shit, do I have issue number 27 out of the 30, or was it 26? It's like you don't remember fine details like that a lot of the times, unless it's like something you're like dead hard on, right? And you'll like always remember. It's like stuff like that you don't typically think of. So it's like usually you don't know what you're looking for until you're actually at the comic shop. You know what I mean? That's how I am anyway. So I'll go and I'll just be flipping through and I'll be like, oh shit, like, here's whatever I collect. I don't know if I own this one or not. So I'll pull out my phone, look, okay, I already own it, back into the box, and I'll just keep going. You know what I mean? So I never know what I'm buying until I find it, basically. That's how I roll. So this here I actually I had drawn this scene a little bit. Let's grab it. I think it's in this stack of artwork over here. Yep, here it is. So I had drawn that, you can see there, kind of in like my own little style. But yeah, the original Godzilla is probably my favorite Godzilla movie out of all of them. I'm a really big fan of Godzilla vs. Destroya. I think that's a very good Godzilla movie, mainly for the reasonings that you get one or two things in Godzilla movies. You either get good monster action, or you get good narrative story-wise. It's very rare that you get both that are good. Because you guys know, it's like a lot of Godzilla movies that are just so much exposition. It's like, who fucking cares, man? Like, let's see monsters stomping on buildings, right? Like, that's why we're here. But there's often other times where we're like, ooh, like, this is pretty gripping stories, and then it's just like, just terrible monster action, or like maybe Godzilla or whatever's only in the movie for a couple minutes, right? Godzilla vs. Destroya, I think, is a perfect blend of both of those things to where it's like, oh, there's like good monster shit that's going on in here, and there's a good story. So it's like, to me, if you're trying to get somebody into Godzilla and they've never seen it before, or maybe you aren't into Godzilla and haven't seen it before, or really don't know where to start, the thing that I recommend again to look at is Godzilla vs. Destroya. I think that's like the perfect like gateway into Godzilla, and if you can fuck with that, then you can really fuck with the rest of them. But that's a good onboarding point for people, I think. So yeah, those are probably my two favorites. I'm a big fan of Shin Godzilla as well. I think Shin Godzilla is awesome. Typically, I'm not a fan of the CGI style. I'm a prefer dude in rubber suit stomping around on buildings. Like, that's why I love kaiju movies so much, is because of that aspect of them. But dude, Shin Godzilla is just so fucking cool, man. It's like you can't deny it. So yeah, like the Showa era stuff is typically what I prefer Godzilla wise. So, you know, your 70s era stuff, which a lot of it can be campy, but again, that's why you love, you know, kaiju movies. So this is something that I love, and this, man, I wish I could remember what this is from. Let's see if it says. It doesn't say. So I wish I could remember what it's called, and I know that Japan Book Hunter Sean had the book at one point in time. Man, I wish I could remember what it was called. It's like, it's Space, is it called Space Magazine? Space Sci-Fi Magazine? It's a Japanese magazine, so I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like that. It's something basic. It's like Space Magazine, Space Sci-Fi Magazine, something along those lines. But anyways, there is a specific issue where they show background, like behind the scenes stuff from Toei, and this is one of the illustrations from that book. And I know that specifically, they actually don't have it credited here, but I remember seeing that book on his website and seeing this specific illustration. So I'm pretty sure that's where it's from. So this is an actual illustration from the movie company. And as you can see, it's like it's a diagram of the special effects. So it's like, oh, here's where we're going to set up the camera guy. Here's where we're going to have all the lines running to have like the planes flying and all that kind of stuff. So it's literally a special effects diagram of how the set is going to look. Like that's like, this stuff to me is super fucking cool. I'm a massive special effects guy, so seeing this kind of stuff is what, you know, excites me a lot. Famous Monsters and like Monster World, Fangoria, all that kind of stuff. I love those kind of magazines because, again, it gets more into like the actual nitty gritty of like the special effects stuff, and they're like Bibles for special effects makers. You know, your Savinis and your Rick Bakers and whatever else. They grew up reading this stuff, so when you kind of put that into perspective, you get a lot more of appreciation of these books because of their historical importance to special effects makers. Yeah, this is definitely one of the better Famous Monsters issues that I own. I think I have like 2 Godzilla special books, I want to say. And this is by far the better of the 2, for sure. That's one of the downsides, though, to Famous Monsters, is you do get, some of them you do get a lot of great pictures and a lot of behind-the-scenes sort of stuff, but man, in some cases, it's just so much text. And it's like, reading about this stuff, it's super interesting, obviously, but when you have, like, a magazine just full of text, you just kind of look at it, and it's just like your eyes just get bored, you know what I mean? So, you definitely need these big, bold images to really supplement the imagery. Frankenstein's Fight for Life. Like, what the fuck is even going on here? I've never heard of this before. I've seen it in the magazine, but prior, it's like I've never seen this. I bet you it's a mess. Who even made this? I'm kind of curious now. Frankenstein versus Baragon. Okay. I'm gonna have to track that down. I mean, I can bet you that it's probably it's a special movie. I'm sure the real special. It's just horrible makeup though. Not some of the greatest Frankenstein makeups I've seen. If there is even any on him. The dude's just like wearing a prosthetic. Forehead, that's like it. This is funny. Trying to make him look like a giant. I like how he's just superimposed on the stuff in the background though. Like they just photoshopped the background onto him. Terrible, because you can tell right here it's like it's all cut out underneath them to paste this stuff in. Man, that's strange. Oh yeah. King Kong vs. Godzilla. A classic, of course. I'm not a huge fan of the MonsterVerse movies. Again, it's just like the digital CGI versions of those. I like the dudes in the rubber suits. That's really what it comes down to. I'm sure that they're not bad movies. I saw the first Godzilla when that had come out. When was that? 2015, 2016-ish, I want to say. I saw that and it was alright. And it's kind of like, whatever. I don't think I would rewatch it, you know what I mean? Again, it's just like the cheesy special effects and the dude in rubber suits stomping on shit. That's what I love, man. That's why I'm into the Godzilla movies. Alright. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. See what else we can grab here. Put these away. Let's see. Kind of curious if I really had anything random beside my drawing desk I could really show off, but I'm pretty sure for the most part we've looked at this stuff at least somewhat recently. Oh yeah, let's check this out actually. I've never shown this off. This would be cool to look at. Comic fell behind my desk. Alright. So this is a weird thing that I've picked up. I mean, it's not super weird, but how many people are going to be able to name the artist who inked this? Did anybody got any guesses out there? It's on a Jack Kirby collector, of all things. I think it's pretty obvious, but I'm just kind of testing some comic knowledge out here. Let's see. Alright, anyways. Probably the latency thing. It's Mignola. So, this was, this is in the magazine, so when we actually look at it, but this was strictly just a penciled piece. Was it for the Odyssey? And, never got inked, so basically Mignola, you know, inked over top of Kirby. That's what this is. Specifically for the Wizard. This was set up like this at the comic shop, and I probably bought this thing 6 months ago or so. And when I saw this figure right here, I'm bringing it in a little closer to the camera. 100% could tell it was Mignola, right? Like you could just tell, especially like down here on like these rocks. A lot of Mignola. So then when I picked it up off the rack and I flipped it over, and I saw this, I was like, yeah, there's no question. Obviously, his signature is down here. But how cool was that, though, man? Just like Mignola inking down on a Jack Kirby collector. Dude, Jack Kirby collectors are like just gold mines for just random shit. You never know what you're gonna find in these. Like, I have a Fantastic Four one over on my desk, and there's like a full-on like 8-page interview with Eric Larson. There's like Eric Larson, Savage Dragon drawings in there that are like specific to that. He did like Fantastic Four drawings, you know, Silver Surfer drawings, and that's the only place you can really find them. So it's kind of weird, just weird, obscure things like that that you can find in Jack Kirby collectors. And every time I find one that kind of speaks to me, I snatch them up. I don't buy every single one of these. But I'll pick up these. I'll pick up things like Back Issue. Very similar magazines, obviously. But again, this is kind of stuff that excites me more nowadays. Is more of like the processes, interviews. Like I'm buying more and more things like Comics Journal. I've subscribed to Comics Journal, to the newer ones, but yeah, I'm starting to get, you know, Comics Journals, Comic Reader, all that kind of crap. So going down that rabbit hole. But I wanted to show off the actual, that page that was in here. Like I said, I think it was from the Odyssey. Let's see if we can find it. But I love the layout of the Kirby collectors because you just get so much variety on the pages. They're fun to look at. Like I said, this is Comic Church. You know, the God we pray to is Jack Kirby. Let's see if we can find it. I think this is this the story? No, it is not. Lord have mercy. Is it going to be like the very last one we look at? Or is it in like the fucking bag? I just don't remember where this... Oh, here it is. So yeah, that was the original. So that was the penciled version. And just look at that, man. That's just penciled. That's crazy to me. I think that the drawing was blown up a little bit just by looking at, you know, the quality. I'm pretty sure this is drawn smaller than they blew it up because it's a little, you know, pixely and everything like that. But definitely good, more than good enough to ink on. Some pretty thick pencils though, when you actually look at it. So personally, I don't ink things like this. Is what I would do is, like, knowing that I'm going to be filling this in, I would just give it an outline. And I just leave it white for the most part, or like I'll just do like little like, you know, scratches in there to know that I'm going to be filling that in black. Because to me, I don't think the ink takes as good, you know, on paper when you're doing this, but whatever. People have their different techniques. But yeah, this is a cool little interesting thing that I just kind of have. Thought it was cool that Mignola was inking over top of some Kirby, and it's just in a random ass Kirby collector. Who knew? Oh, and I have this pulled. Let's take a look at this here. What time we got? Yeah, probably start wrapping it up here soon. This probably be the last thing that we'll take a look at, and we'll start wrapping it up a little bit. So yeah, Love and Rockets. This is 17. Man, I have the first. It might be the first 17 issues of Love and Rockets, to be honest with you. I didn't see. I'm trying to remember what issue this was. Okay, 18. So I have the first 18 issues of Love and Rockets. Again, just fanographic stuff you just don't see floating around in the wild here. So this is typically things that I have to either get through Dave, or just like the random one-offs and like local cons and stuff. You'll find Love and Rockets and like magazine stuff, and that's where I've typically found like Love and Rockets like super cheap, or I'm like old and dingy because they're magazine size. So like these old dingy magazine, you know, boxes, you'll find Love and Rockets in for like $1, which is like unheard of. So You do see that out here every once in a while because people, honestly, I don't think they realize like what Love and Rockets is in this area. In the Midwest for a lot of the times. So this shit just kind of gets tossed around. So when it is found, you can find it pretty cheap. Like I think I have, let's see. I saw it in here. Yeah, this issue. So it's like, I found, so it's 2026, and I found the number 11, $3 a piece. It's like, where the hell else are you going to get an issue of Love and Rockets for $3? It's like, nowhere. So you do find things like that out in the wild, like at cons. That's right, I remember that we were going to look at Howard the Duck. I have to pull one of those out quick here, actually. Because we showed off the Howard the Duck drawing, and I mentioned, I was like, yeah, we'll look at a Howard the Duck. So let's pull one of those out and take a look at it. Like, all the way down to the bottom of my box. Have so many damn magazines. There they are. Number 2, let's grab one that I know is good, this guy. Alright, so obviously I love Love and Rockets. It's one of those things that you have to actually sit down and read to get appreciation of. Obviously the art is fantastic in these. Like the cartooning in it is just top notch. A lot of Archie is what I see in the Hernandez brothers, for sure. But the characters in Love and Rockets is, your real connection to everything. So, highly recommend to read Love and Rockets if you have not. I think Love for Mechanics is like a trade paperback you can buy that has like the first 3 issues of Love and Rockets in it. Love and Rockets is strange because it kind of starts as like a weird superhero-y sort of thing, and then it turns into just like your slice of life, I guess is how I would categorize it as. I don't really, you know what I mean, but that's what it is though. It's kind of like a more realistic kind of slice of life comic. So if you're into stories, characters, and things like that, Love and Rockets is highly, highly, highly recommended. Especially if you are into like DIY, punk, hardcore, hip hop to a certain extent. There's a lot of Black Flag, that kind of thing that goes on in this. So if you're into like punk, hardcore, Love and Rockets is highly recommended. All right, pulled this Howard the Duck. I think I'm only missing like 1 or 2 issues of this run of Howard the Duck. I think they did 14 issues, I want to say, and I think I'm missing the last 2. But this is number 7, and I wanted to pull it because it's got Man-Thing in it. So, give a little bit of background on the Howard the Duck stuff. It's magazine size. So when Howard the Duck originally had first come out, it was it had more adult themes to it. Obviously, the comics code kind of came into fruition, and they're like, hey, you can't be putting this shit in kids' comics. So they expanded it out to magazine size, so that way they could skirt the comics code and put, more graphic things into a quote-unquote comic and get away with it. So that's what they do. That's what they did there. Took it from comic size to magazine size. That's how they got around. So pretty cool little comic knowledge for you. But again, these are more or less anthologies. Huge fan of anthologies, as you guys know. So it's one of the big reasons why I recommend to pick these up. And man, it's just black and white goodness. It's like chef's kiss a million times. Cannot get enough of this shit, man. It's just so good. Especially on this like newsprint, it's like that. Again, it comes down to like the Warren mags. Just what it reminds me of. It's so good. Yeah, this is just batshit insane. It's so good. I know I keep saying that, but look at that illustration, though. Master. Who we got on this one? Gene Colan and Dave Simmons. So, I mean, Dave Simmons is obviously a legend. Wow. It's fun revisiting this stuff. When I first started collecting Howard the Duck, man, this is probably like a year and some change ago, I want to say. When I first started getting into like these more magazine-sized ones. And I think the magazines are definitely the way to go, and they smoke just the normal Howard the Duck comic books. You can get these on eBay, and typically what I recommend to do is to buy these in a lot, because you find these for like $10 to $15 a piece in like back issue bins. If you buy these in a lot, typically you can get them cheaper than that. So that's what I recommend to do is just go onto eBay, look for somebody selling a handful of these, and usually you can get like 2 to 3 issues for free because of the pricing there. Because if you do find these in comic shops, they're going to be up to that, like I said, $10 to $15 range, depending on the issue and the quality of the book, condition. But this story and everything like that, or just these Howard the Duck books, really made me start wanting to mess with like charcoal and things, because there's a lot of charcoal that's going on in here. And towards the start of my art journey, I didn't know what the fuck it was. I'm like, how are they doing this? Steve Root is the one who clued me in on that. He's like, brother, they're just using charcoal in a blender. And then I went to town on using charcoal in blenders, and I still use it. Like the cover to the anthology, that has charcoal on it. I mean, you really can't see it, I don't think, but unless you're like looking at it and you're like specifically like, oh, I can see the charcoal on it, but when you're just looking at it at first glance, you really can't tell. Because the reasoning is like I was using it to blend in, the blacks with the white and just kind of like that, get that gray. And it's charcoal, man. And when you scan it in and you look at it, it looks great, and you can't even tell. It just kind of looks like dirt, grunge, grit on the page. But yeah, I'm looking at the cover, and when you're like trying to find it, you can see it, but it blends in so good though. So if you're out there and you don't use charcoal or like blenders into your art setup, I highly recommend to do it. It really gives you a lot of texture, especially with things with like smoke and whatnot. You do a lot with that. And you can buy blenders literally anywhere, like fucking Walmart sells them. So and charcoal pencils as well. So just go out and go walk under your Walmart and just go buy some. Like they're literally just here. I'll show you. Sell them in different sizes and everything. But you can see here, it's like, this is the one that I primarily use for pencils and everything like that, or like charcoal specifically. And when you start to use these, as you can see, they get dirty, and you really don't have to like constantly put charcoal down, so you can just use this on your paper, and then, the more you rub on it, the darker it gets. So that helps out a lot. And then as well, I'd use it for colored pencils, do blending on my colors. I very rarely work in color because, as some of you guys are aware, I'm colorblind. So that's not something that I typically do, is because I have trouble being able to match colors. So that's really the biggest thing, is a lot of the times, colors do not go together because I can't tell the difference between them. For me, it's like blue and green. I can't tell the difference between a lot of the time. So if they're like together, they're really hard for me to tell them apart. And when it's like blue on green text or like green on blue text, so on and so forth, like I can't fucking read it. It just blends in together. So I try to take that into consideration as well, like accessibility with my comics. So that's like a big reasoning as to why I I work in black and white, is because it's like anybody can read it, and the color aspect really doesn't matter as much. So, somebody who's colorblind, I kind of take that into consideration. But no, this is not Bernie Wrightson, Nathan. this story specifically, or is this the same one? I think this might be the same one from the start. I think it said it was, yeah, it was Dave Simmons and it was the inker. Gene Colan is his name. I'll bring it up here. So this is, like I said, it's like an anthology, so it's kind of a mix. So we got a new story here on this one. More Man-Thing stuff, but we got Alfredo Alcala. I have no idea who that is, but it's like, just look at this shit though, man. It's crazy. But yeah, this is like a horror themed issue, and they have different, different things that they do. So I can show off like some of the ones that I have in here. I'm not gonna pull all of them out, but just the ones that I have like right in my hand, I'll show off the covers to you. So this is Howard the Duck, number 2. Just like a cool little pink thing where he's getting kissed, and that was the reason why I think this was the very first issue I purchased, and pink is my favorite color. You guys have seen my website, it's pink. Bret Hart's my favorite wrestler, wears pink. So that's what drew my eye to this, and once I bought this, I was fucking in, man. I was like, whoa, they're doing this in Marvel books? Like, get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? Like, they're like straight up like EC, Eerie, Warren Mag style, like horror comics. But it's Howard the Duck, you know what I mean? Kind of wild. This is another one of my favorite ones here. This is number 5. Another horror themed one. So we got Michael Golden is in this one, it looks like. So yeah, thanks, Nathan. It took a lot more work than what I anticipated when I got into it. We're gonna have the anthology up to sell. Once I get them here, put those up, I'll get some art prints up to sell. Start hawking these bad boys out. This is number 8. It's kind of more of a superhero themed one. Okay, that's cool, Jeff. Yeah, I didn't know that. And speaking of which, Jeff, I had seen you yesterday in the in Steve Rude's live chat. So I could see you're checking out some like art streams and comic streams and things like that. So that's pretty cool, man. Good on you. Yeah, Steve is he's my all-time favorite, man. And it's like like you guys go back and read my blog, I kind of talk about that a little bit. Like when you look at my art and like my aesthetic, like you would never guess in a million years that Steve Rude was my favorite. And for me, it's mainly for like his discipline and his philosophy when approaching art. Steve he's bipolar, and he is also schizophrenic, I believe, and he is also autistic. So he has multiple personality disorders going on. And as you're aware, it's like a lot of people that are, autistic on the spectrum, so on and so forth. They have a lot of just like attention to detail, and they really hyper focus on one thing. And for Steve, for him, obviously that's his art. The dude has been going since the 80s, and when you look at Steve Rude from the 80s and Steve Rude now, the dude just doesn't stop, and he just goes and goes and goes. Like, he just constantly just learning, and that's what's admirable to me, and why I love him so much, and why I put him, at the pinnacle, is because it's like, let's just look at this here real quick. I've shown this off in the past, but this is just one of the ones that I have, and then I actually joined the Kickstarter for his 2025 book. But this was one from a couple years ago. If you guys have never seen one of these or have purchased one of these from Steve, go to his website and buy one. It doesn't matter what sketchbook it is; any of them will do you good. This was, like I said, this was one from a couple of years ago. This was a painting that he had done, a full-size painting. He sold said painting on his website, and I saw what it sold for. It was 10 grand. It's like, oh. Yeah. Yeah, Steve is amazing, man. He's a Wisconsin cat too. That's where he's originally from. He's from like the Madison area, I believe, or like Manitowoc area. So he's more towards Milwaukee. But yeah, his family, Janelle and Jess. I'm not too sure with Brandon. He really doesn't. Yeah, because I think he's in Florida. So he's not on the streams and stuff, but Jess and Janelle help Steve out with his streams. So they're usually the ones that are running it and in the chats and everything like that. So usually when you're speaking to Steve, it's one of those two. But yeah, the roots are awesome, and they've been super kind to me and super encouraging. And like Steve himself has given me a lot of tips and pointers, and he's super accessible. And he is exactly one of the greats. I mean, that's what's fucking insane to me. Is that you go into his streams and he'll have like 30 people watching him, less than that in some cases, and it's like, what are we doing here, people? It's like you have the dude giving art classes right now, and the entire time he just trashes on people. He's just like, these motherfuckers on YouTube, they don't know what they're doing, and come watch the dude, my streams are different. And you're like, he's not wrong at the end of the day. But I just think it's funny though, just he just goes no holds barred, man. So highly recommend it. He does it every Saturday. He does like an art stream, and sometimes they range from like a half hour, sometimes they go longer, just whatever he wants to do. He has done like art contests in the past, which I've actually let's pull this up here quick. Steve Rude. Getting this pulled up here. All right, so this camel right here, he did for a live stream, as you can see, and he put this up on his website recently. He did I already said that. He did this during a live stream, and the whole thing is he wanted to do a drawing contest. And then whoever entered said, drawing contest. He showed off all of people's art during the streams and whatnot. And then I think he gave somebody like a gift card to his website, like a print or something from what I remember. But anyways, there was like 10 people-ish, I want to say, that submitted art to it. And I got second place when he had done this. And this was back in November of last year, as you can see. When he had done that live stream, and like I said, I submitted it. You had a week to draw the camel and submit it out to him, and I got second place. So I was only drawing for like 6 months at that point, not even a little longer than that. And like that's what fucking blew my mind. I was like, and he showed off my camel on stream and was like, this is Sam's camel and blah blah. He's like, this is awesome and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that was like super motivating to see, because it's like, obviously he's the fucking dude, and like this drawing isn't a joke, and I've never drawn a camel before in my fucking life, and I sat for a good 2-3 days and just drawing that camel, and I got it down. I don't think my like sketchbook that I drew him in is in here in my studio. I think it's in the living room right now. I may have shown it off on Discord at one point in time. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I'll show it to you guys here quick. This. So if you guys are on the Ink Pulp Patreon, I guess I can. Oh boy, I don't want to see that. If you guys are on the Ink Pulp Patreon, this was something that Jim had talked about recently. So I guess I didn't mean to show this to you guys, but I had it pulled up in front of me on my Discord. The last thing that I had it opened up. He kind of talked about Jim's nightmare. I hunted this page down today so everybody could kind of see what he was talking about. And I pulled this from the Internet Archive of all places where I found this at. I own a handful of Wizard mags, but this is like a later issue. This came out of Wizard 119, so that's it's like it's an older issue. It's like I don't buy it. It's like anything from like 96 onward in Wizard. It's like I don't buy or fuck with. So it's like that stuff, just throw it in the trash because it starts to become like more fanboy-y than more of like comic insider stuff. So, after like the mid '90s onward, like they became more of a pulp culture magazine, if that makes sense. But anyways, Jim Mahfood had a shitty interaction with somebody at a con. The guy came up to him and was like, "I want you to draw this Ghost Rider," and Jim's like, "Well, I'll draw this Ghost Rider for you." Like, I had no problem doing that. So, he drew up a Ghost Rider that looked like this and an original commission piece. The guy came back a couple hours later and was like, "What the fuck is this? I didn't ask for that." And Jim's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He's like, you wanted a Ghost Rider in that style. That's what I drew." And the guy's like, "No, like I wanted this drawing." And he's like, Jim's like, "I'm not a fucking Xerox machine. Like, I'm not going to be copying this down. Like, if you want to do that, just go cut it out of the magazine and go to Kinko's and scan it in, Then it's kind of divulged into a whole thing of like, "Hey, man, like, you need to step away from my table or like, there's going to be a fight here." Like, that's where it kind of divulged into. So if you're a fan of Ink Pulp and everything like that, their Patreon episode, he kind of talks into that. And like I said, I wanted to actually track down the actual page itself so people could see what they were talking about. But yeah, like the dude like wouldn't leave his table unless Jim would shake his hand. And Jim's like, "I'm not shaking your hand, dude. Like, we're not doing business here, and I'm not your fucking friend. Like, we're not shaking hands." And the guy's like, "I insist," and just like holding his hand out for a handshake. And apparently the dude like left and had come back again, and that's when they were like, "All right, dude, we're gonna have a problem if you don't leave." Like, let me get this pulled up here. I got to reset my camera. Let me get this pulled up here so I'm not like flagging a bunch of people's stuff in Discord here, showing off people's usernames and stuff. Let me see if I can find this here quick. So I'm pretty sure that I posted the camel at one point in time. Oh, because I'm in the wrong let's see. I'm pretty sure I did post that camel at one point in time. Why I wanted to. You know what? Give me a second, folks. You're still going to be able to hear me anyhow. I'm just going to go grab my sketchbook. Started trying to track it down on Discord. I think I posted it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was like, just a random camel that I did, which is the truth. Oh, let's see. It's in here somewhere. Here it is. Just hold this. Oh. Pen stopping the page from folding over. Here it is. And it's the infamous camel that I drew. It's kind of a wonky looking camel. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like his stomach's a little weird looking, but I mean, for the most part though, it's not terrible. And like I said, this is like pretty early, all things considered. And second placer, and the dude that won, it's like he won because he could draw his ass off clearly, and there were some pretty good camels, but I think a lot of people didn't really understand the assignment, right? Like it was more like, hey, I want you to replicate this drawing, right? Like copy it is more or less what he wanted you to do. And he didn't give you like his reference material, which I found the camel that he was using for reference material and I looked at it to see what he was looking at, but he wanted you to use his reference, like his image as the reference material. So some people really didn't understand. They kind of like did whatever the fuck they wanted, and he was like pulled it up on the stream. He's like, and like tossed it away. Really didn't give it the time of day. But yeah, anyways, let's go back over here and start wrapping this up. Gotta reset my camera. Okay. So this is, I just wanted to look at this real quick. This was his 2023 sketchbook, and this is just things that he's doing for practice. And it's like, when you're looking at this and you're not striving to be like as good as the dude, it's like, just get out while you can, man. Or at least making an effort to like be as great as he is. He does painting, he does inking, you know, he does penciling, he does animation, all of it. And that's exactly what this is. It's just snippets of his sketchbooks. And like, this is what this dude is doing in his sketchbooks. It's like, oh, okay. So when you see that people are working at this level and you're not, it's like, you really need to be stepping up your game. This is something that's stole from Steve, not the actual photo, but just doing this, making reference material for yourself. I can draw some things from imagination, but a vast majority of the things that I draw, it comes from reference material that I shoot myself. So like, when people are in certain poses and all that kind of stuff, I will set up my camera on a tripod, like my phone, and I'll snap a picture of myself. And if I can't get a photo of myself, like there was a scene in the comic to where there's like a behind view of somebody like walking, and obviously that's kind of hard to do by yourself, even with a tripod. So it's like, I had my girlfriend like get behind me, and like, she's short, so she's like standing on like a step stool, and I got behind me, just took a photo, so that way I had a reference material. That's how I operate and draw. So after I had seen Steve kind of like doing this, and that's how he operated, I was like, oh shit, because if I have reference material, I could fucking draw all day. Like, it doesn't matter. But if I'm having to draw from imagination, that's where things start to fall apart for me a little bit. But man, if I have that reference material, it's like all day. Like, I can draw. So it's like, I have dumbass photos like this of myself in my phone, like all over the place. So if I die and somebody looks at my Google Images, they're gonna be like, what the hell is wrong with this guy taking photos like this? But it works, man. Like, this is what you have to do. Like, look at this. Right? And he's just putting this in his sketchbook. Just here's Steve Rude just out here standing with a cape on. So that way he can get the fabric texture. And I do the same exact thing. I don't go out stand outside with my shirt off with the cape on. But you know what I mean? And this is one of my favorite images that he's ever drawn. I point this out quite a bit. Yeah, NSA. They're gonna fucking put my phone into a museum, wondering what the hell kind of pictures are on that thing. But one of the reasons why I love this image so much is because how often do you see, like, in action, like the gun actually sliding? You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons why I love this so much, is because like, that's his attention to detail. Not very often. Usually you only see like the blast coming out of the gun, right? But you actually don't see the slide and movement. So that's really cool to see. Bring this up a little closer to the camera. But yes, there is a shadow drawing in here, and it might have been, oh, it's this one right here. This guy. I've copied this so many times, and the reasoning why is because, like, when you look at the shading on this, it's so good, like, on his face. But yeah, I've probably copied this drawing probably like 10, 15 times, probably. Just trying to, like, understand his technique with the colored pencil. Oh. Then he's got some Frazetta inspired stuff down here. Just a straight up just a picture of, I think it's a Frazetta drawing, is it not? Or painting? Oh no, it's Boris. Some of this stuff is like, so like this is a full finished piece. That's not something that was in his sketchbook, obviously. So some of this stuff is, it's not completely his sketchbook, as you, well, obviously it says and commissions on this, so do take that into account. But when you're like looking at like his, like, this is stuff in a sketchbook, and one of the things that I love that he does he'll take like little snippets, like emails and stuff that people send in to him, or like pieces of advice that he gets, and he'll cut them out and paste them into his like sketchbook for like pieces of motivation. What was this? Oh, so he's like drawing technology, and he says HB inspired. So whenever you see that, he's talking about Hanna-Barbera. Obviously, he's a big fan of Space Ghost and all that kind of stuff. What else was I gonna say about Steve? I can't remember though. I had another fun fact, but I lost it. This kind of looks like Mignola a little bit. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. He so recently, if you guys follow Steve, you should know since mid '90s or so, he's been trying to get like a Nexus animated series off the ground. It's not working out for him. Just keeps, falling apart. I've said this in the past, and I think a big reasoning as to why it doesn't work is because if you guys have actually read Nexus and like the story in Nexus, it's just all over the place. It's, Mike Baron just bullshit, to be honest with you. It's a dude who has superpowers, and his job, he kills serial killers. It's like, what? It's like, that's what your comic's about? And you're gonna make a kid's show about that. You know what I mean? It's like, that doesn't make sense. So it's like, Steve talked about this on a show yesterday, to where he was like, nobody wants to take a risk on it, and blah, 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 blah. I want to have full creative control and all that. Like, I get it, man, but as somebody who's into outlaw comics and underground comics, and like, I get it, like, you can go as graphic as you want, but the way that you're trying to, phrase this animated show is like, oh, it harkens back to the old school Hanna-Barbera, your Johnny Quest and your Space Ghost and your Herculoids and whatever. But your comic is still about a dude that kills serial killers. You see what I mean? So it's like there's a conflict there. So it's like he has to get over himself, and you have to do some adjustments to your story to actually make it work for a fucking kid's show, right? Or make it an adult animated TV show. It's like, or go about that route, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know what I mean? It's like you have to look at it in a business perspective. It's like your mom, like little Jimmy's mom is gonna allow some kid to watch a superhero movie about a superhero that murders serial killers. But he announced on his stream yesterday that for like the past like 9 years, Mike Richardson of Dark Horse fame, so he was Dark Horse had their movie slash TV department. So when they did like The Mask, they did like Dr. Giggles. What else? Hellboy. There's a couple other things that are in there, but that studio, was involved in getting those projects out. At one point, Dark Horse was publishing Nexus comics, so like they had republished them, and it was called like the Nexus Archives, and basically they're just reprints of the ones that come out through First Comics, and I own every single issue of Nexus. Like, I have a long box full of nothing but Nexus over by my drawing table. Literally every single release pretty much I own. There's like a handful of things I don't have, but the original Nexus run, the next Nexus, all of that, I own every single issue. But anyways, he had gone into business with Mike Richardson, again, like the founder of Dark Horse. They have that movie / TV division over there, to try to get the project up off the ground, actually make something out of it. It just sat there, and they never did anything with it. And Steve finally got the rights back to it, and he was fucking salty about the whole thing. Like, I trusted people with my project, and blah 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 blah. Nothing ever came of it. That's show business. I mean, it is what it is. It's like, it sucks, man. But at the end of the day, happy to hear that he has his stuff back. But just hearing his his demeanor about everything, especially with wanting full creative control and all that kind of stuff, it's like, listen, man, you're Steve Rude, the dude, and like you're one of the greats in comics. but you're a nobody in animation at the end of the day. So it's like you have to try to, and this is something that I've emailed to him to like, I guess just give advice to it. It's like like why does Steve care about what I have to say? But anyways, I was telling him like, hey man, you have to like find like people that are on like YouTube or whatever, like like small animators that are just doing it for fun and like that are talented, and being like, hey, like, I want to make this Nexus thing, like just do a grassroots, like just get a bunch of people involved and do it that way, as opposed to like trying to do like a traditional hand animation. It's way too expensive, it's not practical, and like the things that he wants to do aren't practical. But maybe if you like create a community or a network underneath yourself of a bunch of different, like I said, like content creators that might be on YouTube or Instagram or wherever they're at that make animations, and reach out to them and find cartoonists or animators that you like and be like, hey, like exactly, it's like it would be easy. That's what I mean. And like, but he's so stuck like in his ways in terms of like being old school, and I don't want to fuck with the internet and all that kind of stuff. But it's like if he actually put in the effort, like this would be easy. Like if like Steve Rude came to you and was like, hey, like I want to make like a Nexus animated show, it's going to be like X, Y, and Z. It's like I bet you a lot of people would jump onto that and do it for free, purely because they can get their name out there onto things, so on and so forth. And if you have a bunch of different people working on the same thing collectively, especially in animation, the episodes are going to come quicker, especially if they're digital. And again, this is something that Steve has to get over. It's going to be digital, man. That's just the way that's just the age that we live in. And if you want it to be hand-drawn animation, then take it upon yourself to make the digital animation, in terms of the art aesthetic, look like it was drawn by hand. I don't know. It's just like, to me, and again, he's my all-time favorite. It just sounds like he's making up a lot of excuses or hurdles for himself, and instead of like finding different ways to make things happen. You know what I mean? It's like he's been making comics for so long and has been at the top for so long. I don't think he really has like a grasp of like having that hunger again of like, pushing through that wall and making things happen. So hopefully in the future, he does something with that, with the Nexus comic, or sorry, the Nexus TV show. But again, at the end of the day, I think it's because he's so headstrong, and he wants so much creative control over everything, and based off of what Nexus is actually, the story. It's like, good luck, man. It ain't gonna happen. But hats off to you. At least you're trying. Yeah, I think that's where we'll probably start to wrap it up here, though. Went on for about another half hour longer than anticipated, but hey, Nexus. We're just shooting and we're talking the shit, man. I mean, I'm not into digital art either, but you have to be realistic with yourself, Jeff. At the end of the day, if you want this project to happen, and we're in the year 2025, I'm sorry, but just like having hand animation like they were doing, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, like when you look at even early episodes of SpongeBob, like people forget SpongeBob came out in 99, so it's a 90s cartoon. It's like that stuff was hand drawn. First seasons are hand drawn, and then eventually it went to digital, and that's just the age that we live in. And it really comes down to, if you're aesthetic, like think of like Into the Spider-Verse or something, right? Like clearly that's digital with CGI, but it has an aesthetic to it that sets itself apart from every other animated movie. And I think if he were to go about it in that respect, like give it a unique art aesthetic, then maybe he can get around it looking digital, or it being digital in general. But if you know anything about animation, it's fucking expensive, and you can't do it for cheap, especially if you're hand drawing it. I know somebody who is in animation, and he was the art director. I'm bringing this up here and changing my camera. He was the art director at Sesame Workshop for like 10 years or so. His name's Dagan Moriarty, and he is working at, he is at Netflix now, I think he said he's at. But anyway, so he's worked on like kids TV shows, so on and so forth, and this is something that he's always talked about, is animation. It got so expensive even in the early days of animation, right? Like they're outsourcing stuff. So it's like when Hanna-Barbera days, a lot of that stuff they were making in LA at the Hanna-Barbera studio, but even then, stuff was getting outsourced. So at the time, I believe they're outsourcing to like Vietnam and Korea were like the two places they would outsource to. So they would make rough storyboards in America, and then they would send that off, and they would get animated over there, and then they'd bring it back here, and then they would snip it together. So basically, all the drawing and everything like that happened overseas, and when they shipped it back over here, that's where the actual like putting it on the animation, camera, and running it through and filming it that way. So that's how they would do it. And then obviously as time has gone on, it's like they shipped more and more outsourcing, more outsourcing, and more outsourcing, and toward the point where they did zero of the animation here, like at all. And then now obviously it's all digital. So it's like that really doesn't matter in terms of cost. But you have to think about how expensive this stuff is to do, especially if you're doing hand animation. You have to have a drawing for every single frame for your cartoon, and a cartoon is what it runs at 30 frames a second, or yeah, 30 frames a second is standard for a cartoon, and obviously the more frames that you have, the smoother that it looks. So for every frame you have to have a drawing, and if there are 30 frames in a second, that means you have 30 drawings for 1 second of footage. So think about how many drawings you have to do just for a 10-minute like video. It's insane. And then you're doing those drawings. You have to paint all of those. You have to color all of those, and then you have to film all of that, and then you have to put sound to it. It's like it's just not practical. It's just not. Especially this day and age, like it's so expensive. And even then, like where do you even buy the film to actually paint on top of that and to film it through, like the cells? Do they even make that stuff anymore? Probably not. And it's like, especially with animation cameras, it's like you probably have to go to a fucking museum to even get one of those things. So, like I said, I love Steve, and I wish him all the best when it comes to that project. But at the end of the day, I just don't think he's being practical with himself, with where technology is and where the cost of everything is, in terms of getting the project over the finish line. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. The animated series was outsourced to Japan. It's like they did like the first handful of episodes here, out in LA at the Warner Brothers Studios, and then it's like after like the first like 3 to 5 episodes, they were like, "All right," and they started outsourcing it out there, because it's like you get to that point to where those creators, start working on other things or whatever, and then they didn't have teams just to crank that stuff out. This was something that Craig McCracken talked about, and Craig McCracken is like a high dude for me, like up on the list of like cartoonists, animators, whatever you want to say. He talked about in the past to where when he was working on Powerpuff Girls, a lot of it they would send it off and would come back, it would be completely wrong. So that would suck a lot of the times, because it's like obviously you're playing with time and needing to get your stuff done to put up onto TV. Because back in the day, like they were working on the fly, so it was like, hey, this TV show needs to be done on Thursday, and like they're editing it and getting it done up until fucking Thursday, and that's when they're turning it in, right? Like this is kind of like how the TV kind of worked at the time. So like they were getting edits and things like that like up until the last minute before the thing would actually go up. So that would be a lot of, they would get a thing of animation back from Korea or wherever it was going, and they'd be like, oh, this is fucked. And they would have to send it back, and hopefully that they fix it, or they would have to fix it themselves, and a lot of the times it would cost too much money to do it on shore, or that it was too much of a time sink, so then they just had wonky animation instead. But yeah, he talked about that to where when Hanna-Barbera first started sending out outsourcing, to those guys, because like they were doing some of the early like cartoons. So this would have been like Two Stupid Dogs. What else? Like Cow and Chicken started on Cartoon, like all that early Cartoon Network, like early '90s stuff. Craig McCracken talked about how that was awesome. Like that period was great. and then the quality started to dip a little bit because that's when they started to outsource stuff more at Hanna-Barbera. And then obviously ultimately that studio ended up closing. So yeah, Cow and Chicken's awesome. A lot of people don't know this. So like Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy fame, he started at Hanna-Barbera actually. So he worked on Cartoon. He worked on Cow and Chicken specifically. He done some things on Two Stupid Dogs, but not a lot. But he worked on Cow and Chicken specifically. Like I'm pretty sure every episode, like his name is on that as an animator, anyways. There is a TV pilot. I can't remember what it's called, but if you go to like YouTube or whatever and you type in like Seth MacFarlane Family Guy pilot, there was a thing that they shot for Cartoon that he made. And this is again like early to mid 90s, and it's straight up just Family Guy, but it's a Cartoon Network show, and it's like it's a dog, and it's not Peter, it's like just a normal looking dude, but it's that same style of like relationship, and it's just Seth MacFarlane talking, and it sounds like Peter and it sounds like Brian, but the characters look different. So that's really interesting to see, and that was a pilot that they did for Cartoon. So if you guys are like cartoon nerds like I am, that's something interesting to look into is that pilot, just kind of like seeing where Seth MacFarlane had kind of come from. But yeah, that's where he got to start, was at Hanna-Barbera working on Cow and Chicken of all things. But yeah, I think that's probably where we're going to end up wrapping it up today. As always, as you guys know, I'm just going to keep pounding this into the pavement. ADP Con, 13th and the 14th of September. I'm going to be there both days. Stop by, hang out, buy some art and all that good stuff. Got my website launched. Feel free to go check that out. I'm going to keep throwing up more and more art on there. So my art page, when you're scrolling on it, this is going to get longer and longer and longer because I'm not going to like take stuff off there. I'm just going to keep it. So it's like an endless sea of just stuff you can just scroll on. So eventually that thing is just going to get super long. So I'm just going to keep adding stuff on there. Probably not daily, but like every other day or so, I'll probably add something on there, you know, whatever I'm drawing at the time. Snap a photo of it, maybe scan it in. But it's just going to be down and dirty, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect. So it's like some of those pictures that you guys seen, it's just like my sketchbook, and it's just a photo of my sketchbook sitting on my drawing desk. Like, that's fine to me. It's just like, it's just more of getting the aesthetic and everything like that just kind of up so people can see what I'm doing. So yeah, and then every Saturday I'll probably put up a blog, like update sort of thing, just type some stuff out. And then as you guys are aware, every Sunday, 10:30 CST, I'm going to be doing live streams here, just talking about comics. I've already determined next week I'm going to be doing a Hanna-Barbera theme, just judging off of what we've talked about here. And this is something that I actually wanted to do today. But I decided that, you know, since I launched like the website and kind of have the book in motion and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So I scrapped the Hanna-Barbera plans for today. So next week, that's what we're going to be doing. I have like a bunch of Space Ghost stuff in my collection, obviously, Johnny Quest, I have Powerpuff Girls, Flintstones, Jetsons, you know, so on and so forth. So I'm going to grab like a bunch of Hanna-Barbera related stuff out of my collection, get that good to go. Probably like Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. I'll have my weekly update up on YouTube, so that way you guys can, you know, hit the bell and everything like that to be notified for when it does go up. Thumbnail and everything will be up at that time. So I have to shop up a thumbnail, get kind of creative with that to see what I can come up with. But so far, that's going to be the plan. And then probably like 2-3 weeks or so, the shop on the website will be live. Again, we have prints, comics, probably have stickers and all that kind of stuff as well. The stickers and everything like that I'll probably have for free just right away, just kind of stick them in the orders for goodies. But like at cons and stuff, obviously I probably might end up selling more stickers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, next week, stream Hanna-Barbera, ADP Con in September. And then the shop up on the website should be active in about like 2 to 3 weeks or so. I have all my payment stuff and all that already set up and good to go. It's purely just waiting for product to come so I can take scans of it, take pictures of it, and then put them up on the site. So once I start getting all that stuff, I'll have it up and good to go. That way you guys can get that stuff from me if you want. And like I said, there's going to be 3 comic shops here in town, or like in the area at least, that are going to be carrying the book. West Coast Avengers, Dave over there here on YouTube, he does his bi-weekly live sales. He's going to be selling some of those. And then as well, all the artists that are out there, so like Nathan, who's here is in the chat, he's got a pin up in the book. And a couple other people, like John watches, but he really doesn't chat. So if you're watching John, you know, do what you will with your comics, man. You got your 10. So if you want to sell them, give them away, do what you will with them. The thing that I wanted to do though is because James, the dude that did like the back cover and all that, he did the James did like the back cover and all that kind of stuff. He lives in Scotland, so the he had brought up to me like, hey, is it possible for you to send like a printable PDF? I'm gonna try to get some more clarification from him, but as what I wanted to do for you guys, I wanted to take the PDF. I want to send it to you to where it's printable, so that way you can walk into an Office Max or a Staples, a Kinko's or whatever, and you can hand them the file. And all they got to do is print it and cut the pages and staple it for you, and then it's done, right? So it's like the file is already set up to go, rather than having like a PDF like file to like flip through to look at. So that way, if you guys run out of books, or if you decide you want it to print more or what have you, you can just take it in and do it. So you don't have to bother me to get you guys more print. I don't have to mail them to you. You can just take care of it yourself. And like I said, I don't care if you guys photocopy this shit. It's whatever, man. It's like it's everybody's work. That was the whole point of it, is just to get everybody's name just kind of scattered out there. So the more that's out in print, the better. So probably at some point, I doubt it'll be today, probably tomorrow, because it's like Sunday. I don't want to bother people. I'll send out an email update with that PDF, so that way if you do decide to, again, just like download that, save it on a flash drive or whatever, so that way you just have a copy of the book, so you can take it into like a Kinko's or Office Max, whatever you have near you, and get the thing printed, and you just have a copy of it that way. The thing to mention though is that the print file will be set up to where it's like the front page is going to be on the top, and then obviously like the back cover is going to be at the very bottom. They're going to be single pages, so you'll have to remember that when you're telling the printer that it needs to be on the same page, so it's like it's double-sided, you know what I mean? So that way that they know, or else they're just going to print it on one side, and then you're just going to have like a staple at the corner, you know what I mean? Just like a basic thing like that. So you have to be, it has to behoove you to actually educate whoever's printing it. Like, hey, this is a comic, this is the front, this is the back, and like they need to print it, you know, on the same page, and how it correlates. And the print file will be set up like that. But if they just print it like a normal print file, it's just going to print single sheets out. So you have to make sure that you're telling them it's going on the same page. But yeah, that's pretty much exactly right. It's like DIY. That's what I wanted to do. It's like, here, I'll show you something. So a friend of mine, like as you guys know, it's like I skate. A friend of mine, he does this magazine here. The local dude, his name's, oh, gotta change my camera. His name is Tyler, and he does a skateboard magazine called Cemental. And he sells these for like $2 a piece or whatever. But this is what it is. It's like about pool skateboarding, which that's like one of the things that I like to do is skate in pools. So this is kind of like a cool little like skateboard fanzine sort of thing. Like there's art in here, but a lot of it is just like skateboarding photos that he took specifically. So he's like traveling around to California, following, you know, skateboarders around and taking shots in pools. So this is like real like punk DIY like underground bullshit here, and this is, you know, skateboarding. And this was like a big inspiration behind the comic, was like, because he doesn't care either. He's like photocopy this thing and get it everywhere, and that's how he operates. That was kind of my thought process behind it too. It's like, it's the first one. Make it be like crack, right? Let them get that taste, and then the next one, it ain't gonna be free. But no, we're gonna be charging them for, you know, $5 a piece. But you know what I'm getting at. It's kind of like that aspect of just like letting people just do what they want with the work, get it copied, get it printed out, and just get it out there, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is just a cool little thing. Like I said, it's Cemental, and I know he's on like Instagram and things like that. So if you want to go hit Tyler up, there's the QR code. Let that focus here. Come on, focus. Anyhow,
Yeah, he even does like V8. So he'll go out there with like a Super 8 camera and film in a Super 8 and then transfer it over to VHS. And these are on YouTube actually. So if you want to check those out, like if you're into skateboarding, they're really cool videos. Um, yeah, he's a like I said, he's a local dude here, and he's a skateboarder photographer. And he just follows people around, and he makes this little like fanzine. So that, like I said, that was kind of the inspiration behind like just getting the thing in print and just like letting people just sling them out there, because like at the end of the day, the more eyes that are on the product, the better. So it's really not about making money. It's about actually getting your art in the people's hands. All right, reset my camera here. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Though I got things to take care of. I got to get my other page inked and completed. Get some other artwork scanned in and fixed up and all that good stuff. So that's probably when I'm gonna hit the pavement here and start doing. Like I said, next week, Hanna-Barbera stream is where we're gonna take a look at a bunch of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, or comics, related comics, and whatever else I have. Because I'm sure I'll probably get things from Dave as well. He's gonna be doing a sale this upcoming week, so I'm sure I'll probably end up picking up some things from him. And show them those off, and I'll probably end up stopping over at the comic shop, because I go over to my comic shop like once every 2 weeks, maybe once every 3 weeks, and it's been about 2 weeks since I've been over there. So I'll stop over there and look, because it's like I used to go in there like all the time and would just pound through like his back issues and stuff and look through everything. But we're in like that weird part of the year to where he's really not buying anything. So it's like there's really no need for me to go in there besides to grab stuff that's out of my pull box, because it's like he's not buying collections or anything like that from people when they're bringing stuff in, because it's like, again, it's like that weird part of the year where he's really not buying anything. But during the summer, he like buys up a bunch of collections and that sort of thing. But every once in a while he'll buy books and whatnot. Like if something comes in, obviously you can't pass it up. I found a copy of Men in Black #1 at a yard sale last summer. I paid $3 for it, and it's like an $80 book. And I walked in with it, and I put it up on the counter, and I was like, because I already own a copy of it, and I was like, would this be something you'd be interested in? And he's like, oh yeah. I was like, I'm gonna buy that, because like obviously, how often do you see a copy of Men in Black #1 floating around? It's like you don't, because like they barely printed any of them, and people that do have them, like they hold on to them. And like I said, I found it at a fucking yard sale for $3, and like the people that were at the yard sale, that they didn't have a clue, right? And when I saw that, I was like, like snatch it up as fast as I could. And he gave me like 60 bucks or whatever for it. He's got to make money, but it's like, and then after he gave me the 60 bucks, like, you want to know how much I paid for him? And I told him $3. He's like, you son of a bitch. So, but yeah, it's like, you never know what you're going to find, man. But, I don't even know how I even got on that topic, but anyhow, yeah, that's what we'll look at. Hanna-Barbera stuff. Get the website up and going here in about 2 weeks or so. Keep your eye out for all the updates and everything like that. We're gonna keep rocking and rolling here, baby. I'm gonna hit the pages. But yeah, I hope everybody has a good rest of your weekend, and just keep an eye out peeled on the website and on the posts on my YouTube for any updates. All right, peace, everyone.